Charlie Munger, one of the most successful investors of our time, says that you need to save your first $100,000 as soon as possible. He says that it's tough as shit, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get your hands on that first $100,000. He said this about 2 decades ago, so these days, accounting for inflation, is probably closer to $200,000, but still, most financial advisors these days still recommend that $100,000 mark as a critical early milestone in your financial path. He says that once you get there, once you get your first $100,000, it may be difficult, but after that, the next $100,000 is easier, the next $100,000 is easier and easier and easier, and from my experience, that's true. It's a nice round number too. I mean, 6 figures saved up. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? It may seem difficult, it may seem very out of reach for you, but trust me, for the average person, saving up your first $100,000 is definitely possible. Charlie Munger was extreme with it. He said that you have to do anything that you can to get that. Whether it means that you walk everywhere instead of taking public transport or using your own car, or you only eat cheap stuff that you can buy with discounts or vouchers. Just get that first $100,000, then you can relax and ease off the gas a bit. I didn't go that extreme, and I'm sure that many of you wouldn't want to do that as well. So today, I'll be sharing 6 habits that I formed to save my first 100,000 ringgit, and hopefully it's a lot more realistic. The last one is pretty brutal, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so the secret to saving your first 100,000 ringgit is that first of all, you need to earn 1 million ringgit. Once you do that, you...
Cut!
What?
That's not realistic at all. Let me see your script. You need to give tips for the average person. You didn't even earn that much.
Fine, let me rewrite this. Okay, so the first real thing that I had to do was that I had to set myself a savings goal. I know it sounds cliche, everybody says you need to set goals, you need to set SMART goals, specific, measurable, actionable, but it's true. See, the reason that I didn't save early on is because I didn't really have a reason to save, right? And since I didn't have a reason to save, may as well just spend all of that money. So my first reason that I wanted to save was a bit funny. I found out about investing, I got hooked into it, and I really wanted to invest my money, I wanted to buy stocks and all that stuff. But how was I supposed to invest if I only had 100 ringgit in my bank account? So that got me motivated earlier on, and then I started getting more into personal finance in general, and my goals started shifting towards stuff like saving up for an emergency fund or working towards financial freedom. For you, think about what motivates you. It could be stuff like saving up for your dream holiday, it could be saving up for a down payment on your first house, or it could be just maybe to pay for your wedding. Think about these things, it will help you stay motivated throughout your journey, because if you don't have these, then you don't really know what you're saving for, and you won't have any milestones to celebrate. So tip that I'll have is to be specific with your amount. Let's say your first saving goal is to have a 3-month emergency fund. So let's say your monthly expenses is 3,000 ringgit. A 3-month emergency fund would mean that your savings target would be 9,000 ringgit. The second habit that I formed to save up my first 100,000 ringgit was when I really wanted to get serious about saving my money, and that is I tracked my expenses. See, I spent my salary every single month, I spent all of it, but I didn't know where the money was going. And I know many people have this same feeling. So back in my first job, I was in a management trainee program and I reported directly to the company's CFO. One day we were looking at cost-cutting measures. Obviously I wasn't involved, I was just sitting there listening in, but I realized that at the start of the meeting, before they even spoke about any cost-cutting measure, the first thing they did was that they displayed all of the company's costs by line item, so by category, and how much they spent on it. Then it hit me. If I wanted to save money, then I needed to do this same thing. I was kind of like the CFO of my own life, right? So I went home and I downloaded this app called Money Lover, I think, and I started tracking every single one of my expenses. Now I knew that doing just this won't save me any money, I'm just tracking my expenses after all, but it's gonna be hard for me to implement everything else if I don't understand my spending. So all you have to do this is literally just track down every single expense that you make. You will get breakdowns monthly on your spending categories. So for example, let's say on food, you spent 1,000 ringgit this month, on transport, you spent 500 ringgit, etc, etc, etc. It's gonna be extremely tedious at the start. It was for me. I got lazy sometimes, and then some days I just didn't track my expenses, but after a while, it becomes a habit and you won't really mind it at all. So I stopped doing this for a while. Over the last 1-2 years maybe, I didn't track my expenses anymore. But 2023, one of my resolutions was to save money, so I just started tracking my expenses again, and I've been doing it consistently over the last 9 months. At this point, I'm pretty sure it's just autopilot. I don't even have to think about doing it on my phone. Every time I spend, I just automatically tap that button and record my transaction. Right now, I use this app called Money Manager. It's free. I downloaded it from the Play Store. There are many other options out there. Honestly, I haven't tried them all. I just downloaded this one and I thought it was the best for me. But you can go check it out, check out some reviews and decide what's best for you. So doing this is going to be extremely useful for the next habit that I formed, which is I started living below my means and cutting out unnecessary expenses. So now I get to the part where I actually saved money. So I was spending way too much, and it's probably because I never had that much money come into my bank account every single month in my entire life. In uni, I never got much of an allowance, so seeing 3,000 ringgit plus 4,000 ringgit going into my bank account every month was just... and I went overboard with my spending. The issue is I started spending more than I should have, trying to keep up with the lifestyles that I kept seeing on Instagram. Then I realized that I can't save money like this. I have to spend less than I earn. Duh. It's nice to spend money, right? It's nice to splurge and enjoy all the nice things in life, but like Ludacris and Fergie said, if you ain't got no money, take your broke ass home. So how you do this is gonna differ by person. I mean, everyone spends differently and everyone values different things, but generally, once you've tracked your expenses, try to identify areas that you're spending a bit too much on, and then, if it doesn't bring you any value, then it's time to cut that out. Usually, most people, areas that they spend where they can cut is on food and on monthly subscriptions. When I did my spending review, I also noticed these two categories as areas that I could cut down on. So on food, cooking your own meals can be a lot cheaper, especially if you're in a family. If you're single, maybe it's not so worth it, but you can still cut down on other areas like maybe eat less expensive food. Or if you work smack in KL where food is generally expensive, bringing your own prep meals can also be a cheaper way to eat out. In my previous job, I noticed that a lot of my head of departments and a lot of my C-level people, they used to bring prep meals as well. So then I was thinking to myself, if even those guys bring packed lunches, then who was I to think that I could eat lavishly every single day? When I did this exercise this year, I noticed that where I was spending a bit too much on was on monthly subscriptions that I didn't really even use. You might think it's just 30 bucks here and 50 bucks there and it's not big amounts, but these amounts can really start to stack up. Even for example, let's say just streaming services. These days we have Netflix, we have Amazon Prime, we have Apple TV, we have Disney Plus, we have Ichi, whatever it's called. All of those are just streaming services, and if you subscribe to every single one of them, the totals will be quite large. So I realized this as well when I was doing my spending review this year, a few months ago actually. I noticed that I had way too many monthly subscription services that I didn't really even use. So I cut down on them. I cut down on stuff like PSN and EA Play. Both of those are gaming stuff. I didn't really play games anymore. And then I also cut down on Disney Plus. I had too many other streaming services, and I cut down on some accounting software that I was paying for because I found a free alternative. So by cutting down on all of these subscriptions, I managed to save 200 ringgit every single month. On a similar note, habit number 4 was that I started buying second-hand stuff. This is actually pretty common in other countries, but I guess not so common in Malaysia. But you can actually save quite a bit of money buying second-hand stuff that are still good in quality. So Carousel is a good place to look. Recently, I needed a couch for my place, so I was looking on Carousel and I found this Rumah couch, which is usually around 2,000 ringgit I think. And the owner, he wanted to leave quickly, so I managed to buy it for just 380 ringgit. Still in good quality, I managed to save, I don't know, 80-70%? That's quite a lot. Other things that you can typically buy secondhand as well are electronics. So earlier this year, I wanted to buy a PS5, but I decided to buy it secondhand because it's just the same thing, right? So what if someone used it before? And then recently, I realized that I didn't have time to play my PS5 anymore, so I decided to sell it on Carousel as well. So yeah, it's not just about buying secondhand stuff, it's also about selling your stuff if you don't use it anymore. Generally just getting used to the secondhand market. On to habit number 5, and this is what really helped me accelerate my savings, and that is, I paid myself first, aka I set up a budget. If you don't listen to anything else in this video, just try to remember this one point. I treated my savings just like I treated any other bill. Like they said, don't save what's left after you're done spending, spend what's left after you're done saving. So you know how every month I would pay for bills like my phone bill, my electricity bill, my internet bill, all those kind of stuff. It's not like one month I can just say, I don't want to pay for this, right? They're gonna cut me off. So I treated my savings equally. To me, my savings was a bill that I had to pay every single month. So I did this by setting up auto-recurring transfers one day after my salary came in every single month. So back then, my salary used to come in on the 28th of every month, and I would set recurring transfers on the 29th of every month into Stashtray so that I have all of my investments sorted for that month. Another thing I did was I took up a 100,000 ringgit ASB financing loan, and this was really forced savings. This one I couldn't run away from, right? It's a loan and I have to pay it off unless I wanted to destroy my credit score, which obviously I didn't. And then similarly, I just set up a recurring transfer to pay off that loan every single month. Then with the balance of my cash, I just spent it however I liked. So I already sorted my savings and my investments one day after my salary came in. So whatever balance that I had after paying for all of those stuff, I could just spend it freely however I want. The only thing is you have to remember to be disciplined. What you don't want to do is you don't want to dip into your savings to take it and pay for your stuff just because you accidentally overspent for the month. If you want to try this, maybe start with something small. So start with maybe 5%, that's what I did. And then slowly, as you get more and more comfortable, you can up that 10%, 15%, and then 20%. That's an ideal amount, but the higher you can go, the better. If you can do this, I would say you're almost guaranteed to save money. If you feel like this is too loose and you want more order in your life, then you can try out some other budgeting methods as well. Popular ones like the 50-30-20 also has a 20% allocation to savings, so just follow it. The reason I chose the reverse budgeting method, which is paying myself first, is because I wanted the most simple budgeting method out there, and paying yourself first is as simple as it gets. I did a video earlier this year on 4 budgeting methods that you can use to budget your money. Check it out here, and then you can just decide which one works for you the best. Alright, on to habit number 6, or the last habit that I formed to help me save my first 100,000 ringgit. This one is a bit harsh, so I'm just gonna say it. Basically, you have to choose your friends wisely. There's a saying that goes, show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. I used to have friends in uni who were rich and they would spend a lot of money on night outs or on the weekends. I'm not even joking, literally one weekend, one of them said that they needed to go somewhere, I can't remember where, so they just took their helicopter. I'm not joking. The thing is, if all of your closest friends all live lavish lifestyles, it's gonna be hard for you to be frugal. And I'm not saying that they're all spending their money recklessly, right? Maybe they are earning money, maybe they're earning a lot of money, or maybe they just come from rich families and they can afford that. But the thing is, if you don't have the money to keep up with their lifestyles, then maybe it's time for you to reconsider your friends. I know it's brutal, but I'm just sharing my experience. So thankfully now, all of my friends are pretty chill. Our weekend lepak sessions are literally just choosing between whether we want to lepak at a mamak or we want to go to this place where there's a bunch of food trucks there. So I decided personally that I didn't want to live the rich lifestyle, so I just chose my friends accordingly. I guess you don't really have to cut out your rich friends lah. That's not what I'm saying. But maybe if they ask you to go do expensive stuff, just learn how to say no. Similarly, choosing your boyfriend/girlfriend is also important in this case. So if let's say you're a fresh grad and you're earning 3,000 ringgit a month, but your girlfriend only wants to go on expensive dates and expect you to pay for everything, I don't know about you, but I will be running as far as possible. So those are the 6 habits that I formed to save my first 100,000 ringgit. Regardless of how much you earn, the only way to build your net worth is by saving money. So let me know down in the comments what other tips do you have to save money. Thanks for watching this video to the end guys, give us a huge thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.